county fair has a pie judging competition in which there are 7 judges who each assign a score between 0 and 10, and then the score for the pie is the middle 5 scores. We're going to throw out the highest and the lowest scores to negate any bias. So this is our application for this project. We have 7 text boxes for each of the 7 scores, another text box which is in read-only form for the total, and then a button that calculates the total by determining what is the highest and lowest score, and then summing the other 5. Now the tip here is I think it's easiest to sum all 7, and then once you find the highest and lowest, subtract those from that sum. So you're going to use if, then, and if conditional structures in a sequential format, like you saw in the race application in the previous lesson. And we're also going to set up our application to use mnemonic navigation, so I can navigate to each of the 7 judges by doing Alt and the number of the judge, so Alt 6 to get to Judge 6, or Alt C as if I was clicking on the Calc Final Score button. We're also going to set up a form closing so that if the user accidentally clicks the X in the upper right hand corner, they'll get a message box that verifies they want to close the application. And then anytime the user changes any of the values in the 7 judges, they should all go back to white and the score should go back to 0.0. So it's going to reset all that. We can probably do this much more efficiently with techniques we haven't learned yet, such as arrays or lists. But since we haven't learned those, I'd like you to restrict your solution to only using what we've learned thus far. That is, I want you to use sequential if, then, and if structures to find the high and the low. Here's the storyboard of how I named each of the controls. When you test, make sure you test each one of the judges as being the high score and each one of the judges as being the low score. Make sure it works on all cases. Then you'll submit this with your reflection worksheet at the end of the week. Let's take a look at this running. Here's the Judging Pies project running. Entered 7 scores for the judges. We click the Calculate Final button, or I can do an Alt-C for that mnemonic. And it's going to highlight in gray the highest and the lowest scores of those 7 judges. Now if there was a tie, we take the first one that it comes across at that score. So our total then, the final score is 40.1, is the sum of the middle 5. 7.9 plus 8.2 and 7.8 plus 8.2 plus 8.0 gives us 40.1. In testing, you'll want to make sure that you try each judge at the highest and each judge at the lowest score, and verify that all 7 judges are accurately calculated as being high or low. I'm going to suggest you pause here and complete this on your own. And what will follow is my solution as a code review. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over the user interface. I gave you my storyboard and how I named the different text boxes and the button. Let's jump into the code for the Calc Final Score button, which I named BTN Calc Score. I created double variables for each of the judges in the final score, as well as a double for the high score and low score. And then I'm going to dim the high judge and low judge as text boxes, just like I did in the race example in the previous video. That will allow us then to very easily highlight those 2 judges in gray. I'm going to cast each of the text values from those text boxes of the 7 judges into the double variables, judge 1 through judge 7. And then we have final equal the sum of all 7 of those judges. When we find the high and the low, we'll subtract that from that final score. As we did before, I'm going to assume that if we had just one judge, he'd be the high scorer. So I'm going to set the high score equal to judge 1 and high judge equal to txt judge 1 text box. Next, we'll compare judge 2 to the high score. And if it's greater, we'll set the high score to judge 2 and set the high judge text box to txt judge 2. Sequentially, I'll do the same thing with judge 3. If it's greater, we set the high score and the high judge. If it's not, we don't do anything. Then we'll do the same thing for judge 4, comparing it to the high score, judge 5, comparing it to the high score, judge 6, and judge 7. Then I want to find the low score. We'll do the exact same process. We'll assume that judge 1 is the low score if that's the only judge, and set the low judge equal to that text box of txt judge 1, and then compare judge 2 score to low score and make changes if needed. Doing the same thing for Judge 3, Judge 4, Judge 5, Judge 6, and Judge 7. Now I'm going to take the final score and subtract from it the high score and the low score. That'll give me the total of the middle 5. I'll display that value to 1 decimal in txt_final_score.txt, and I'm going to highlight the high judge and the low judge, which is in the back color, to light gray. Now I also coded all 7 of those judge scores for the text changed event, and they all share this sub-procedure or this event handler called clear final. And what I'm doing there is setting txt_final_score.text equal to 0.0, and then setting all of those back colors to color.white. Alternatively, I could have done the first one and then set the other 6 to the back color of txt judge 1. And then finally, I have the confirm close method, which is handling the form closing event for the form itself, which is going to verify that the user wants to exit by showing a message box, and if they click yes, then we're going to set e.cancel to true. In essence, I copied and pasted the confirm close method from the previous application. You might want to keep a Microsoft Word notebook of routines that you might use frequently that you can just copy and paste. Just a little tip. I hope you enjoyed this project and were actually able to do this on your own. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.